welcome to another episode of Ask Ashley. I am so excited for today's episode. We have a very special guest today that I'm so excited to introduce to y'all. We have Scott Smith here, fellow Baylor alum.
Woo, sick 'em
Bears. He had his undergrad in finance and his MBA from Baylor and has been with AT&T for over 28 years now and has had several different roles within the company. Just to name a few: finance, IT, college recruiting, mergers and acquisitions, and now is the Chief Human Resource Officer of AT&T Communications, which houses over 200,000 of our employees. So, Scott, thank you for being here. So glad to have you.
I'm thrilled to be here. You kind of scared me with that 200,000 employees. Like, oh yeah, it is 200,000 employees or so. I see we've got the Baylor banner front and center.
We had to have it there.
Got your Baylor shirt on.
Always representing.
And and as we know, well, as you and I know, the audience doesn't know this, but it was almost a year ago where I surprised you and one of your peers came into one of your classes at Baylor and made you a full-time offer, and boom, you're here now.
So crazy.
How cool is that?
Oh my gosh, it's been such a wild year. I mean, thinking back, I would have never thought that I'd be here now.
Can I tell a quick story? 30 seconds?
Absolutely.
I know you were asking, but now I'm asking.
Floor is yours.
So I recall maybe it was the day before we made that offer to you, or maybe just a few days before, I can't remember now, but I felt like you were a little worried about maybe where you were going to be working full time. You had just finished your internship with us last summer, and I could see the wheels spinning in your head about, well, I'd probably like to work for AT&T, but I guess I better interview with other companies. I was like, yeah, you probably should interview with some other companies. That's a great idea, Ashley. Little did you know that I'd already had something cooking.
Clueless, absolutely clueless. And I remember when you came in, I just sat there thinking, he said he was going back to Dallas yesterday. Right. Like, what is he doing here? Never crossed my mind that I was going to walk out of there with a job offer.
Well, I hope our audience gets to maybe see a clip of that. And it was really exciting time for me, and even more exciting for you and for Sarah Ross, your peer, who we also offered at the same time. So it was a good time, and we are thrilled that you're here.
Well, happy to be here. And I think we can actually check out that clip now.
All right. Ashley and Sarah, based on your internship performance, the values and character traits that each of you possess, the potential that both of you have to be strong, engaged, and impactful HR professionals, and certainly long-term HR leaders, the predicted value you will bring to our team, and the presumption that you will continue to study hard, make excellent grades, you graduate, and you wear these t-shirts that Jonathan has in his hand the rest of today, by the authority vested in me, by my great company, I hereby extend a full-time offer of employment with our HR organization at AT&T.
So good.
So good. Awesome.
So I have to ask you, I know you are an avid sports fan and a fellow Baylor Bear.
Yeah.
How are we feeling about the upcoming football season?
Well, I'm optimistic, positive. I feel that Coach Rule has done a great job recruiting and got some good talent there. And we had a good end to the season last season. So let's go Baylor Bears. I guess hopefully we will watch this in like 4 months and like, oh, that didn't go well. So
fingers crossed.
I hope it goes well. See, we're a week and a half or so away from the first game.
Yep. So it'll be good.
Well, I'll be there. You be there?
I'll be there.
Okay.
I already got my tickets.
Will you be there? Well, you won't be at the Baylor game, but you might be another game, right?
Maybe.
Right.
Who knows?
All right.
Well, cool. We're so excited to have you here today. We actually want to talk to you a little bit about your college recruiting days and what students can do today to make sure that they're standing out among all of the other applicants, whether they're applying for AT&T or a different company, and just making sure that they're putting their best foot forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you want me to answer that, or do you have a very specific question?
I have a few questions.
Go ahead.
But we can definitely...
We'll hit all that.
Okay. Well, first, you know that recruiters view thousands and thousands of resumes every single year, especially in fall with it being peak recruiting season. What can students do to set themselves apart on their resume if they're applying for AT&T or just in general?
Yeah, so good. Let's take the resume first, because that's sort of your entree point, if you will, into any company as far as what they're first going to see. So, some things are just table stakes. And if you don't do this well, you're not even going to get past that point. It needs to be formatted well, no errors in spelling, grammatically correct. You need your education on there, any experience that you might have, organizations that you might be involved in, and the leadership part of that. And I'll talk about that more in a second, but the leadership part of the organizations you may have been involved in. And then also, I'd say, what do you like to do? Is there a hobby that you like? That's always a good topic for discussion when you're possibly going to do an interview. I'll actually look at someone's resume and say, oh, you like snow skiing? Okay, well, tell me where you've been. And so that helps me get to know that person a little bit better. And I might not even know to ask that unless it was on the resume. So I think that's good to throw out there. But I would tell you the most important thing is actually it's not your resume, it's actually preparing your resume. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is you need to study. There are certain GPAs that most companies are looking, there's a floor, if you will. We won't look below a certain floor. So GPA is one of the starts to get you in the door, if you will. So to get a decent GPA, you need to be studying and going to classes and meeting with your professors and focusing on that. So that's number one. That's pre-resume. Number two is, and I mentioned the leadership part, and this is something at AT&T that we are supreme. It's a paramount importance for us. We think that leadership activities at your university or maybe as part of your work experience, that is supremely important because we want to see well-roundedness. We're not just looking for you're a specialist in electrical engineering. That's great. We want to see some activities and organizations you've been involved in to see where you have where you learned some leadership skills and, quite frankly, how you've applied those skills. So that's important. And then I mentioned experience. So you can't put something on the resume that's not true. So we want to see some experience, like an internship, like you had. It could have been you were a counselor at a camp. It could have been that you were a waiter or a waitress. There's all kinds of experience that you can get. And my heavy recommendation is at least one of those 2 summers, you need to be in an internship or a full-time position so that we can see what you did, how you did it, you can explain how you did it, and what you were involved in. So those are some of the things that come to mind when I think of resume. So it's about the resume and it's about preparing for the resume as well. And then I'm sure you'll have a question in there. We'll talk about the interview process because that stuff just gets you in the door. It's the interview process that really is where you need to sell yourself.
Absolutely. I don't think I could have said it better myself. But on the flip side, students are going out of their way to prepare themselves and get their resumes built up. On the company side of things, AT&T, for example, what are some things that separates AT&T from the competition and why a student would want to come here?
Yeah, so when I'm out speaking to colleges or just to students in general or just candidates in general, not necessarily anybody coming straight out of school, I think there's several things that separates. By the way, a lot of companies will explain where they feel like they separate themselves. AT&T is a large company. That can be a pro and a con. I focus on the pro. The pro is this. There is a multitude of jobs that you can have in this business. We're like a little city, if you will. So any job that you can have in a city, you can have at AT&T. It could be in our marketing area. It could be in our finance area. It could be in supply chain. It could be in communications, human resources. In our technology group, which is our largest organization, we got various technologies. Think STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, and different roles that subtend kind of the STEM job family. So there's just a multitude of things that you can do. You mentioned when you were introducing me some of the things I've done: finance, IT, human resources. I thought I was going to be in finance my whole career, and by the time I got to kind of role number 3 or 4, I wanted to do something different, and AT&T allowed me to do that. So that's one thing. Second thing is you want to make sure when you are a recruit that you are looking at you're asking questions of the company as to how they develop their employees. What kind of learning and training do they do? What do they invest in? What is their tuition reimbursement policy? Because a number of new hires will want to continue their education. Some are still looking to get their bachelor's degree. Some would like to go get their master's degree. Some would like to go get a particular certification. What does your potential employer engage in? What do they invest in? How much is that? Is it promoted? Or is it like, yeah, we want you to do it, but we want you to focus on your job? Everybody's going to want you to focus on your job, but do they allow you time and opportunity to advance your education? And that's really important. And you know, by being here, that's something that that we very much invest in. So those are a couple things. Community, when I think about AT&T, and I know as you've come in over the last few months, you've probably seen it. Community is a big deal at AT&T. The customers are our community. We serve literally tens of millions of customers, whether they're our business customers, whether they are our consumer customers that are investing in our video services or our broadband internet services or our wireless services. And so we want to make sure that we're giving back in the community. We have various efforts. One of our most recent ones is we called AT&T Believes, and we're doing various work in communities. It could be for our homeless, could be based upon digital literacy. There's just a whole host of different topics that we are investing our own employees with in the community, so we make sure we're serving where we are engaged as a business. So that's a big deal. So those are three things kind of off the top of my head. The last couple things I probably would mention there would be just working with great people.
Right.
And we hear it all. You might hear that from a lot of different companies. I can tell you, as Ashley mentioned, over 28 years of service. Actually, I just hit 29, so add one more. Time goes fast. See, by the time you even said it, I had one more year. So 29 years of service, and I can tell you that the reason that most people like myself are here for that long, the job is great, but it's the people that you work with. It's your team, it's your leaders, it's the people that work for you, it's the colleagues you collaborate with. These are fine people that work for this company, and the reason why we know they're fine is because in human resources, we're out looking for people that match our values, that people that stand for equality, that pursue excellence, that think big, that live true. Those are a number of our values, and we're looking for those kind of people to come invest themselves into AT&T. And then lastly, I'll just say diversity and inclusion.
Absolutely.
And diversity and inclusion is more than race and gender. It's about different skill sets. It's about working in different geographies. It's about bringing your point of view to meetings, and your perspectives and your opinions, so that we can get a good diverse view of that. So there's a whole host of things that go into diversity and inclusion that we are known for. We are in the top, usually at the very top of the rankings with Diversity Inc. and other external agencies that review diversity and inclusion activities. And so that is another big reason to work here. And that talent piece and that D&I piece sort of go together.
Yeah.
So I probably went a little too long there on your answer, but that's what I talk about when I go out and talk about our company, in addition, of course, to the products and services we have that, as you know, and probably many of our audience members know, look, we impact life. We impact life, whether it's those wireless services, those video services, broadband. Everyone is connected these days. We are the company, and I would like to say the best company that can connect you to your life, to your family, to your work, to your friends. We're in the connection business, and that's what we do every day to make sure that you are able to live your life to the fullest. And I appreciate that, and I'm thankful that I work for a company that has that kind of impact.
Absolutely. No, everything you said is so important to look for, not only at AT&T, but I think other companies you're looking into, right? Like, do they fit with your personality? Do they fit with your work style? Do they match your values? All important things to be looking into when you're interviewing or going to career fairs, seeing who's there.
Absolutely. Are they going to invest in you? You want a company that you're going to invest in, because you're going to be spending a lot of time.
Right.
Big part of your time now investing in that company. How are they returning that to you? And what's that social contract, if you will, that they are going to provide to you?
Absolutely. Well, you kind of alluded to my next
Okay.
question
What was
a
that?
little earlier. Interviewing.
Yeah.
So AT&T has several different programs that students are able to apply for, and even outside of AT&T, opportunities are endless. What can a student do to make sure that they are putting their best foot forward when they go into the interview?
Sure. That's a big deal. I'd say the interview is the kind of make or break. And if you make it, there's probably more interviews. But if you break it, that's it. There's probably no more. So I'd say the first thing to do is you need to prep.
Right.
You need to prep. You need to know about the business that you are interviewing with, what they do, look at their financial statements. How are they doing? What are their priorities? What's their mission? You need to understand a little bit about that. Even further, if you know someone at that company, it'd be great to have a phone call to them, a discussion with them, so you get a little bit of insight about what it's like to work at that company. So that prep, that's the first thing. The second thing I would say is you need to ask quality questions.
Yeah.
The best interviewees that I have are the ones that ask me questions about. They could ask questions about myself, my career. They could ask questions about the business. They could ask questions about work-life balance, about training, what it's like to work there. You need to ask quality questions. You don't need to ask 10, but I would say at least 2 to 3 you need to be prepared with. And I would tell you, there's been many a time where, and I always end my interviews with, what questions do you have for me? And there have been many a time where someone would say, well, I don't have any questions. Even if the interview's gone well up to that point, that gives me an idea that they may not be so interested in us because there are about, I'd say, 10 million questions you could ask me, and all you have to do is come up with 2 or 3. So be ready from a question perspective. Let's see, another thing, Ashley, would probably be you need to, and again, I call this more table stakes, regardless of who you might be interviewing with, but you need to show up a little early.
Yes.
And by the way, if you're going to an area of a town that you're not familiar with, make sure you are familiar with. Make sure you know how to get around, where you're going to park. I mean, it's stuff that you sort of take for granted, that all of a sudden you're meeting someone at 4 o'clock on a Thursday and realize, oh my goodness, I can't get into this downtown area or this metropolitan area because there's a ton of traffic that you weren't expecting. That's no excuse. You're old enough now that you should know better, and you need to be fully prepped for where am I going, which door am I going in, how long is it going to take to when I come to the security booth or what have you, the security agent, and getting a temporary badge to come in, the parking situation as I mentioned. You should do all that and still be a little early to your interview. You need to dress appropriately. By the way, businesses dress differently now. Look how we're dressed. T-shirt, jeans. I'm in jeans and a pullover. This is how we dress for the most part. I mean, we call it dress smart. If you're in a meeting with certain executives, clearly I might have a tie on, or certainly a dress shirt and slacks. If most of my meetings that day are going to be internal like this, I'm going to dress more like this, more casually. I would, if you always want to err on the side of being too dressed up, a little too formal than less. But also, if people are always dressed in jeans, you should probably come in slacks. If people are always in slacks and more I call it business, then you probably should come in a tie if you're a gentleman, and in a suit or a dress if you're a young lady. So, but just you could ask your recruiter those questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's really the third thing. And I know you're sort of in that place now in your full-time job where people are asking you questions. Yeah. Make sure you ask those questions to your recruiter. Get as much information as you possibly can from him or her so that you feel comfortable, that you know where you're going, you know how to dress, you know how to act. And the last thing I'm going to say about the interview is not about the interview at all. It's about after the interview. And I credit Ashley to you and others. It's the follow-up. We live in a day and age where a lot of people don't think they have to say thank you. And that's including if they were they interviewed with somebody. And I would say that is just absolutely not true. I do look at those thank you notes, whether they're email or whether they're written. You need to take the time and the effort to do that because it does make a difference. I know in your mind you think, doesn't matter, no one's going to make a decision based upon a note. I would say I disagree with that. That tells me that A, you were interested enough that you want to follow through. 2, that you're that type of person. You are appreciative of the opportunity you had to come into a corporation and actually take someone's valuable time and talk with them. That goes a long way. And thirdly, it's just the right thing to do.
Well,
next question. We still rolling?
Yeah, we're still rolling. Speaking of communications with companies, how can students best stay in contact with companies that they're interested in?
Well, number of ways to do that now, especially with technology. One is just go to their website and find out, look at their history, look at their About Us, look at their investor relations report, look at their annual report. I mean, there's all kinds of information you can gather now about a company just by going to their web portal or website. Secondly, social media. Whether that's Facebook, whether that's Twitter. You get a lot of news comes from Twitter, even Instagram to a certain degree. LinkedIn, that's obviously it's kind of like Facebook for business, if you will. You can get all kinds of information there. In fact, you're probably going to get some information that you might not see in the regular kind of public sphere. You come in, you read that, and you ask questions about that. That's very impressive. And just any contacts, of course, if you have in the company, you can get information from them. And we already talked about, from a recruiting perspective. And then once in a while, you might have an opportunity. I think you did this once where you came up here with the Baylor Business School, and you were touring a number of companies, including AT&T. Yeah. You'd be surprised. You can go and ask for a tour, or ask somebody that works there, hey, would you mind if I come in for an hour and you kind of show me around? That goes a long way. Be assertive. Don't be arrogant, but be politely assertive, learning about a business, especially if it's one you are really focused on and you really want to work there. There's so many different ways, as I just mentioned. I'm sure I'm forgetting some, but those are a few different approaches to making sure that you understand about a business.
Awesome. Well, those are all the hard-hitting questions I had for you.
We got some soft ones?
We got some soft-hitting questions now.
Great.
To kind of wrap up. So
those are the ones I worry about, the soft ones. Hard ones are easy. Soft ones
all right. So it's going to be rapid fire.
Okay.
Are you ready?
All right.
Early bird or night owl?
Typically night owl, but Monday through Friday, I'm early bird. Go ahead.
All right. Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Flying or driving?
Flying.
Beach or mountains?
Way mountains.
Texting or calling?
Texting, unless it's a crucial conversation, and you better make a phone call.
I respect that. Okay, last one.
Yeah.
Basketball or football?
Football to watch, basketball to play.
Okay. Well, guys, that is it. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Scott, thank you so much for taking the time to come.
Thanks for having me, and I hope your audience just takes a couple, 3 tips from that, and really appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Well, we will see you guys next time, and maybe see you on campus. Have a great start to your school year.